Let me ask you a question on not on Nestle, but what about other traders in the world that have been buying coffee in Vietnam? Would they be happy to see that happen, or they have been buying Robusta in Vietnam at a very cheap price, and they may not be happy that Vietnam is actually putting a premium on top?
In my opinion, no, absolutely not. They would be very happy. And I apologize to them because I forgot to mention that they are also part of a task force. The world is moving towards sustainability. In the short term, if somebody is trying to buy a low quality product, yes, he or she can make a small buck, but medium term to long term, it's all about sustainability.
It's very exciting to hear about a project,
Yeah.
and I'm pretty sure that the audience of the show will be really interested to
I
know
hope.
about it as well.
Yeah.
But before we see that happening in the future, what are the other challenges that you've got here in Vietnam for Nestle in terms of operation and trading of coffee beans?
Other than quality, there's another major issue which we are facing, and which I think has to be even put up on the agenda very high. It's the aging of the trees.
Right.
Because like human beings, trees also age. And if I remember correctly, already around 20 to 25% of the total trees are aged.
Right.
If we don't do anything, in next 5 years, this percentage will cross 40. And next 10 years, it will cross 60.
Going back to the quality issue of coffee beans in Vietnam, you've mentioned the aging of the trees, but are there any other factors that contribute to quality? For example, processing or...
Absolutely, you're absolutely right. There are so many other things in the value chain. Processing is one, then post-harvesting, the way it is dried, that also has a major impact in the moisture and in terms of climate. And the training module which we have developed as the task force, incorporating all the stakeholders' input, that covers the full value chain, which means it covers what has to be done when you are doing the pre-harvesting, post-harvesting, storage. And if we are able to implement all the best practices, so this only will give us X amount of better beans, also in terms of quality.
Is that following the global gap system?
Yes, it is in line with the global gap. And because most of the material we are using is the 4C training, which is in line with the global gap.
So with that project in place, do you think that you will increase your buying volume in Vietnam in the future?
Well, yes. Why not? Because there are two things happening. The first thing is, yes, for export. It would be very difficult for me to give a comment what will happen in the export volume. But where I can confirm we will buy more is that, I don't know whether you read the newspaper, we recently announced a new investment of around $270 million US by putting up 2 big factories in Amata. And this investment on one side is clear Nestle's commitment towards Vietnam, and secondly, it is catering to the huge potential we have. And as explained, only 7% or 6% is locally consumed. So we believe that Vietnam coffee consumption is very, very, at infancy level. It's, once you compare it with our neighbors, it is...
What's the per capita consumption at the moment?
Well, normally
0
we
point
don't...
something.
Yeah, it is very small. But the example I can give you is versus Thailand, it is 1/4. Versus Malaysia, it is 1/5.
Right.
So it's very, very small.
And we are the producing country.
And we are the producing country. So I think that this investment clearly shows that we believe there's a huge opportunity for Nestle generally in Vietnam and specifically in coffee. I hope you have tried our Cafe Viet, which
I
is
have.
Cafe, and now we have launched Cafe Soda.
Yeah.
I hope I pronounced it correctly. And these are the products which we have mainly made for Vietnamese consumers, because food is so local that we cannot just bring a blend from Switzerland and start selling it here. We have been selling Red Cup for 20 years, but in the end, once we launched the products which are like Cafe Viet and Cafe Soda, consumer acceptance is huge. Huh?
So you do recognize the local
Absolutely.
taste, local profile, and you do adapt your product
100%.
100%.
We have a methodology which is called 60-40. And this 60-40 methodology is very simple. We will only launch a new product Once we take, for example, if there are direct competition, we take the competitor product. If there is no competitor, we go to the nearest competition. For example, when we were developing Cafe Viet, it took us 3 years. It was not 1 year. And one of the most important thing was taste preference. So we took the coffee which is they normally drink, the filter coffee, and then we made our own Cafe Viet. And consumer does not know which product is which. And once we get 60% of the consumer preferring our product, then we will only launch. So which means we are 100% linked with the local taste adaptation, because otherwise we will never be able to successful. And for other products, we also have something which is called Plus, 60/40 Plus. Plus means the nutritional aspect. So we have this commitment that we will keep on adding more nutritional value to our product range, which is true in case of coffee, because most of the consumers even don't know coffee has very high antioxidants, even higher than tea. So from that side, once we have this local factory running, we will buy more coffee. To come to your question, we will develop more products which are suitable for the local taste, and this will generate a lot of consumption within Vietnam.
You obviously have seen a lot of potential in Vietnam as a domestic market. How do you see that growth continue on in the next few years? Do you have can you estimate a percentage of growth in terms of coffee consumption?
Look, in the last 4 or 5 years, the CAGR, which is compounded average growth rate of the category, is around double digit. Yeah, double digit growth. And with very low per capita consumption, we believe for next 10 years it should stay double digit, which means it's an excellent opportunity for not only Nestle, for all the players in the market.
And obviously, instant coffee has always been a potential category for Nestle. Has there been any other potential categories that you can see in the coffee industry that will be growing very strongly?
Well, the way we look at it is that right now we have mainly 2 types of coffees in Vietnam. One is the filter coffee, and one is the soluble coffee. And one of the reasons why soluble coffee started to grow was that it's difficult, it's time consuming to prepare a filter coffee. And number 2, you will never get the same consistent taste every time because of the temperature and everything, and from one place to another. So, and that is the convenience which soluble coffee brings. And in my opinion, the innovation which we did, like Cafe Viet and Cafe Soda, which is matching almost the same taste of filter coffee, I think more and more of these kind of new products would be coming in the market.
Let's have a question on the local taste though, because I'm a Vietnamese. And most Vietnamese, when they consume coffee, probably the blend would have chicory or butter or corn or rice or whatever in it. Does that mean that we need to have the same sort of combination in our product profile?
Look, like Vietnam coffee, I'm a heavy coffee drinker. But when I first time arrived here and I took one sip of Cafe Viet, I almost stood up because it is so strong, it is so intense, it is so bitter, and which is very unique to Vietnam. And on top of that, if you look at the consumption pattern, other than the winters of Hanoi, if you take it out, almost 50% is consumed with da, which is ice, and 50% is consumed hot, which is again very unique because in the most of market, 90% is hot, and 10% in certain market it is. So it's another challenge, you know. And I will not go into the recipe details of our Cafe Viet because this is our secret. But you're absolutely right that if you want to tap this taste segment, you need to add something which is more than coffee. And so if you look at our Cafe Viet, yes, it has more things than coffee. As a result, consumer get the same taste on one side, the same taste intensity, because consumer is very, very, very peculiar about the taste of Cafe Da. You know, you cannot just fool him with a product which is not or better than what he or she can get outside or made out of filter coffee. So yes, we have to add things, and we are adding in Cafe Viet and Cafe Da, and that's why it is so successful. Both are Cafe Viet and Soda.
What about the ready-to-drink category? I have seen a lot of brands being launched on the market. How is that going? Is that a potential category?
It's a long run, you know. It's a slow jogging, you know. It will come, in my opinion. There are 2 or 3 players already. Nestle is also playing in ready-to-drink in cans, and in most of the market, it evolves over time, and it is linked with on-the-go consumption, and obviously with more infrastructure development, with more people eating out, and they would be looking for convenient and healthy drinks, and there's a clear need state for this, and we believe it is a small market now, but 5 to 10 years from now, RTD would be a major part of our portfolio.
What about things like brands like Nespresso, which you have been very successful elsewhere in the world? How is that fitting into the Vietnamese market?
Well, actually, Nespresso has a total different business model, and it's more like Louis Vuitton or Chanel. You know, they have their own boutique shops, and the whole idea there is about the full service. And at this stage, I don't believe we would be bringing Nespresso to Vietnam. I think it would be a little bit too early. However, Nestle has launched other, capsule or other machine concepts where you don't need the same kind of service, because for Nespresso you need all service in terms of cleaning the machine and changing water, filter, all of this. So Nestle has launched the Dolce Gusto, which is another very interesting concept which you can buy from Carrefour or Tesco. So it's available in the retail. And there the technology is absolutely, totally new, advanced. So that we are doing a very good business in the short term in many markets. So if you ask me 3 to 5 years from now, I think that could be the first stepping stone towards this new machine, which you can buy from Metro or from Big C with a choice of 2 or 3 capsules. And then you move towards Nespresso where you need full service, and then you have choice of 20 or 15 different capsules. So, but this portion, what we call it, portion coffee will happen when a little bit too early.
What about specialty coffee? What are your thoughts on the specialty coffee sector here?
Specialty coffee, look, a little bit too early in my opinion, because what I've seen in many markets is once the per capita consumption increases, then consumers look for more choices, and those choices could be more towards indulgent, which could be cappuccinos and all these indulgent products. Or they'll start to look for other benefits which coffee can give, could be functional coffees. So if you ask me right now, the challenge to all of the my friends, my players in the market would be to increase the per capita consumption. And then once they are ready, then we offer them a wider range. Because if I don't drink coffee and you tell me also I can have cappuccino, I can have Nespresso, it will not work. I have to start drinking coffee, and then I can look for new choices. So, but it will come, and we have a full roadmap of 10 years. So you'll see in the coming years all this range.
So the potentiality of the market still lies with soluble ground coffee.
Yes, basic coffee.
Basic coffee for the future.
Correct, and we have to highlight the benefit of the coffee, which is on the antioxidants. As an industry, we have to highlight the importance of drinking coffee and why Vietnam's coffee is better coffee, and we have to launch new products which are more suited to the local taste. We have to identify different need states from the consumers, and then make sure that whatever we launch new, taste-wise is acceptable and is catering to the specific need state. And then the coffee market will continue to grow.
On that note, we've talked about a lot of opportunities for the Vietnamese market as well as export, especially in terms of sustainability. If there are people out there interested in the coffee industry in Vietnam, what would be your personal advice to them?
Okay, my personal advice would be that number one, Vietnam in my opinion, is a huge opportunity, not only for coffee, for any category. Specific to coffee, it is even stronger because your basic raw material, coffee bean, is produced here. We have a young population, people are positive, government is supporting foreign investment. So from a business point of view, there are a lot of opportunity. However, specifically in coffee, my message would be that if they're interested, they should be very, very careful about their commitment towards sustainability. Because unless, as the organization, you're committed to the sustainability in the coffee, then it would be a very short-term approach. So I welcome all those players or advise them, come join us, this great fun we are having in Vietnam, but be committed to sustainability in coffee, because we need more partners so that together we can drive this very important area.
Thank you very much, Rashid,
You're
for being on
welcome.
the show with us today.
Thank you very much.
With sustainable development at the forefront of attention and with the strong growth in domestic consumption, Vietnam does seem to have a lot more to offer in the years to come. I would leave it in your capable hands to work out how you can capitalize on the opportunities in this sector. If you have questions for the show, please send them to fay@insidevietnam.com.vn. For past episodes and show updates, please visit Inside Vietnam on WordPress, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Thank you very much for joining us today on the show, and I do hope to have an opportunity to share Café Soda, which is Vietnamese for an iced coffee with condensed milk, with you in Vietnam. Bye for now and see you again in 2 weeks.